constraining challenges of the turbulence, global turbulence. Similarly, we are now looking at the consulting challenges of this client-consultant cooperation in difficult business times. I would like to highlight a global perspective and an Indian perspective of what is difficult about these business times. The fact is not that a consultant is looking for a sick organization. The question is, in a difficult time, how to anticipate and prevent organizations from becoming sick. Some sectors are very badly affected, some are less affected. But even in those sectors which are badly affected, some firms are doing relatively better. So what can a consultant do in terms of helping the management not to get complacent during a boom period like 2001 to 7 in the Indian market, and recognize that there will always be an economic and business cycle, and no macroeconomic policy can do away with that cycle. First of all, we have a global recession. Even in that global recession, 3 different terms are being used. If you want a more deeper, finer analysis of it, it is in the US that there is a fear of a very extreme kind of recession called a depression. You may have seen many headlines, is it depression 2? Before the presidential elections, there was a real fear in the US that if a Republican got elected, they may go into a depression of the 1930s country. Fortunately for them, they were sensible. They elected a man against all odds, Afro-Asian, junior senator, not even the first term completed, an academic by background, no corporate background. So they have ensured that this president understands that it is very important to prevent a depression. Therefore, he engages in the $1.1 trillion US stimulus. Rest of the world also recognizes. Europe is going through not a depression fear, but a recession. A recession is a lower rate of growth, up to 0, from 3% of average growth down to 0, but not a serious problem about impoverization of the economy by a falling GDP. Japan is going through something even worse than depression and recession. Is going through a deflation, which is much worse than inflation. And for a long period, 2 things happen. Consumers postpone purchases expecting more price fall. Business postpones capex expecting more price fall in equipment. Therefore, the economy is frozen and paralyzed, and it takes a much stronger stimulus to get them out. Japan's exports have fallen by 50% in 08. India and China and the other emerging markets, the BRIC countries, are not going through a depression or a recession or a deflation. We are going through what's called a downturn. So there are 4 different terms that we need to understand to be able to help our clients. We are going through a reduction in the growth rate. China from 10 to 8, India from 9 to 7. There are countries which would be delighted with a growth rate of 5% or 6%. For them, it is a dream growth rate. For us, 7 looks bad, 6 looks worse, because we've been spoiled by the 8-9% growth rate. But nevertheless, within that 6-7% growth rate, there are serious problems which are hidden. Therefore, in India, we have to go into not a national economic analysis, but a sectoral crash. You are familiar with the sectors which have crashed. Real estate is the first one, which has taken a severe beating. The IT sector is one where the share prices have dropped by 70%. Some of the banking and financial institutions still recently, now they are picking up because of the G20 decision on another $1 trillion stimulus to the world, increase the IMF funding to $1 trillion level from the original $250 billion. On the other hand, there are sectors which are withstanding this downturn reasonably well, although they're also falling in their growth rates. Everywhere there is a margin pressure. So the sectors which are doing well, as you know, are FMCG, the pharma sector, even hotel and tourism to some extent internally, although the foreign arrivals are coming down. Then we come to the next level. Country, sector, company specific challenges need to be identified for each of the clients that we have in mind. We either have a relationship already, or we can, in this time, build a creative relationship and cooperation. Within the company, I think the normal sequence and priority of corporate objectives changes during difficult business times. Under normal conditions, my own suggestion to top managements is to go for the following relative priority of corporate objectives. There are 4 objectives. If things are going well, the management must stress first and foremost profitability. How to maximize the margin on sales, capital turnover, therefore the return on investment, therefore the earnings per share, and raise the brand salience and the price earnings ratio, and therefore the market capitalization. So in normal times, financial theory still is very valid. We need not junk it in haste. Market value added is the finest single measure of performance of corporates in good times. But in a downturn time, the priority changes. Survival, as Shashi Buddhiraja mentioned, is the first objective, to make sure that we are around. Between 1950 and 1990, Indian enterprises were spoiled because survival was never a threat. It was a closed, uncompetitive local economy, government support, various kinds of subsidies, bank rate reductions. So survival was kind of underwritten and guaranteed. Our policy has now shifted from protecting the entrepreneur to protecting the consumer. So first objective is survival. Second, I would say in this period, the firm needs to protect its image, even at some cost, at a lower margin. The image in terms of the customer feeling that this company is not a coward running away. It still is concerned about the customer, the quality, customer service. In a recessionary time, what the customer is expecting is the same product at lower price or new product designs which will be adequate and which may cut out some extra value but give the consumer a lower price and accessibility. There is, of course, always a luxury segment which still continues to sell. The Mercedes Audi investment has come into India. They are quite confident of getting a market share of 10% plus. The third objective is financial solvency, not maximizing profitability, but avoiding bleeding cash outflow, conserving cash, reducing costs. That's very critical for the survival as well. And finally, if that sector, that territory, geography allows, go for growth. In this period, aggressive growth is not the objective. In fact, the real estate sector got into trouble partly because of excessive growth, and even the Tata Group, for example, Tata Motors, although the nano is an exciting idea, in financial terms, it's not great for the P&L and balance sheet. So the acquisitions in the UK are straining at the debt burden, interest burden. So I think this is the time to conserve and survive with reasonable margin, with a good image, and be prepared for the upturn, which will come anyway. So if one doesn't damage the image and doesn't damage the organization too much, then you are ready to capitalize on the upturn. It is inevitable. The economy basically